Like, we need younger people. We want to mentor people. We want them in the industry. We want them to have this shared passion that we have. We want them to get involved. But people don't want to get involved when you're being creepy. Bro. Hello, and welcome to Carrier Code, your inside track to the strategies, stories, and leaders driving the trucking industry forward. Today's episode is sponsored by Driver's Legal Plan, CDL Ticket Defense for Professional Drivers, and produced by Bulldog, Trucking's podcast pros. I'm Christy Choice, here with my co-host, Rocco Morari. How are you today, Rocco?
Christy, I am fantastic. The sun is out, not that you can tell in my office down here, and it's like almost 54 degrees, so I can't complain. I love this.
Very nice.
What about
Very
you?
nice.
What about you? What's going on?
Well, whenever we get together, I feel like the gang's all together. So it's always an exciting day when we get to connect and kind of talk about where we've been and what we've been up to. Weren't you just in Vegas at Manifest?
I was, and what an interesting and exciting time. I mean, for those who have not been to Manifest, it is a very, very interesting event. It's really tech driven. And there's just a lot going on. They got really cool technology driving the show itself, which I think is really neat. One of the really cool things about Manifest is, they have a whole area to where you just set up meetings.
Oh.
So which is good and bad, because all of a sudden you'll have shit pop up on your phone.
Yeah.
That I have a meeting in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you could accept it or decline it.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. And one of the really neat things about Manifest too is they have it to where with the badge, it's got a little electronic thing in back. And if you meet somebody and you want to exchange information, you just click the buttons together, and miraculously you get all their info sent to you.
Oh, well, I love it.
It's just really, really cool. It's neat the way technology has come across from when I started here, 13 years ago in the industry, something like that. So that's a really cool part of Manifest, but I think that's going to lead us into some great topics today. What are your thoughts?
I think so too. I know Vegas was hopping last week. There were like 3 or 4 different events happening in Vegas all at once. And so folks in the industry, I mean, my LinkedIn was going off because everybody was everywhere. Either they were at the NTTC Executive Forum, they were at GeoTab Connect, they were at Manifest. And so I love that the industry is really just buzzing right now with lots of different topics. And so what we wanted to do today is really kind of just sound off on some, topics, trends, industry things that we're seeing. So, Rocco, I'm going to let you go for it. Okay. Tell us what's on your mind. What's going on? What are you seeing out there?
Oh, perfect. All right. My biggest bitch, and I'm just going to tell you right now, in this industry. So there was like 7,000 people at Manifest, maybe give or take.
Whoa.
I can't tell you how many vendors. It was massive. I mean, it was really, really a good turnout.
Uh-huh.
When you're a carrier or even another vendor working in the industry, learn to shop local. And let me tell you what I mean by that.
Okay.
So we spend a lot of time, at Pedigree and other vendors learning the industries that we're selling to and promoting our products to. And it takes a lot of effort, and you want to make sure you have knowledge of what you're speaking to. So when I say shop local, begin to look at other vendors who have a vested interest in the industry or even any type of knowledge. Great example. I was walking the show floor, having a grand old time, and just talking to people and seeing what's out there. And I walked over to a booth and was talking. Yeah, there was 4 or 5 younger people, probably in their mid-20s, and they first off thought I was a carrier, and I wasn't going to challenge that. I was going to let them do their little speech and teach me what they knew. And they started talking about bills of landing.
Wonder what those are.
And how they can help. I don't know. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And they said, well, yes, we can automate your bills of landing. And I said, well, where are we landing? Is this a runway? I said, can you explain more about what a bill of landing is to me? Because I'm just confused. I've been in the industry a while. And her response was, here are some socks. Have a good day.
Wow. Okay, first of all, that's a facepalm moment, right? Where you're like, oh
I
my
it
gosh.
is,
I'm
but
embarrassed for you. Secondhand embarrassment for the person who didn't even didn't even know bill
and for the
lady.
vendor.
Yeah, for
And for the
sure.
vendor, and it's not even that wasn't even a one-off. That's my biggest complaint here is there were numerous vendors that had no idea what, or let me take that. Possibly the vendors did, but their representatives had zero idea of what the industry was, what the industry needed, or even any of the common terminology that we speak about.
Yeah.
And for me as a vendor, I find that appalling
Yes.
because I need to be able to connect with my customers, my prospects, and anybody out there. And when you're at an event like Manifest and and it's expensive to have that type of outlay and to just sit there and have no knowledge of what your product does or what industry it serves, that is very disheartening in situations like that. And again, it's not Manifest's fault. That's really the fault of the vendor for not understanding the audience and who to send to these. And that's where I really come back to you, buy local, because what happens here is, these vendors are hiring, and one of my competitors does this, so I'm not going to name them, but they'll hire people right out of college and just send them to shows. No knowledge, nothing, and just throw them to the wolves, and they look terrible. And as a consumer, you're trying to get information, and you can't even have a conversation going back and forth because there's just no knowledge. There's nothing, and they're just trying to hand you, swag to move you on and to get your information. So somebody who has an idea of what's going on can give you a call. So I preach this quite a bit is to prospects, and you don't have to buy from me, but buy from somebody in the industry that understands your issues, that puts forth effort to learn and to keep advancing their products because of the industry that we're in. This isn't an industry where it's going to stay stagnant. We're changing every day. So when you have somebody from overseas trying to sell to you, or from different countries that don't understand what we do on a day-to-day basis, and you're just buying because of price, then you're also the problem. I run through this every day. I had one yesterday, a very large vendor call me up and say, I want as cheap as you can get. And if not, I'll go find somebody who's cheap. And I said, fine. I said, go ahead. Go, I'm not going to cut my throat, to save you a couple dollars. And my response to that always is, do you move your freight for free?
Ooh.
Guess what the answer is, Christy?
Of course no.
No. So
No.
how am I going to
No.
give things away for free? And we always, and we leave it on good terms, and typically they come back and they say, you know what, you were right. And, it's, principle, we just don't like paying money. And that's the industry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I say, when I say shop local, make sure you're working with people who understand what we go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So I was in Wilmington at a North Carolina Trucking Association Women in Trucking Summit. And it's very interesting because our friend at ATA, Brenna Lyles, did a wonderful presentation, kind of state of the industry. And one of the things that she said that really resonated with me, she was talking about a new TMS vendor that is using AI, but they're using it to falsify records and logs and like timestamps and hours of like it was wild. And so she was talking about it, and I mean the room, like you could hear everybody like gasp, like, what? We hear AI everywhere, but like to hear that, and they were, from another country, and it really found a way to use that technology in a way that is just really, really dangerous.
And Chrissy, I am so glad. This is crazy that you brought that up because AI I think they just put AI in front of everything. They had AI coffee machines there, AI rose. I mean, it was as long as you had AI, people were coming to your booth. So I want us to chat about that here in a second. But what's funny is you just brought that up, and a friend of mine owns a trucking company up in Wisconsin. I didn't get permission to name names, but he sent me this morning, and it's completely tied to what you just said, that there's AI bots and AI solutions making trucking non-compliant and they're changing, I'm just reading this here, changing the hour of service, able to manipulate your ELD, and by doing so, it saves you $3,000 per truck per month. And there's this whole write-up he sent me, and it's amazing the difference. You can add an additional 4,000 to 5,000 miles per week throughout, depending on your fleet size. Lower your cost per mile down to $180 per mile, profiting a minimum of $2,000 per truck. Double the miles at 22% lower cost per mile if you're able to get this software to manipulate your ELD for $30 a week.
Whoa.
That's where AI is getting to at some points. You know, and I know you were just speaking about, I believe, AI and the differences between the different types of AI and so forth. So can you share with, some information to our listeners
Oh,
of
yeah.
what you spoke about?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so I guess since we're just kind of sounding off here, I guess that's something that I do want to talk about, right? AI is everywhere. We see it in the it's just it's in everything. And I was gonna say, kind of your example with the AI coffee machines, but it's like you can't escape it these days, right? And I was able to moderate a panel where we were talking about different use cases for AI. And so in typical, Christy fashion, I used AI to describe or to define AI. And so we had a little, chuckle moment there. But one of the things that happened afterwards, I had several carriers come up to me and we were kind of talking through it. And they were kind of just wanting to rapid fire some use cases for AI. But what became very apparent was that we are interchanging AI and automation, right? A lot of AI, artificial intelligence, is you giving or allowing that artificial intelligence to make some decisions for you, but it's using automation to do that. Okay. And automation are just those tasks that are repetitive that you can create, let's say, like if then statements. If this happens, do this. When this happens, do that. And you can code it in or build it into the background to kind of take away some of the manual clicks that need to happen. But they work hand in hand. And I think that it's always been so important to me that we give carriers the correct language to use so that their expectations are met, right? Because I think when not, we're telling folks AI, 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 and I'm like, are you even using any automation right now? And if so, how is that going? And what can you do to build on what you're already doing before you just go full blown AI? What do you think about that? Like, I mean, am I off base here or?
No, you're right on. Because I spent, the first portion of my, transportation career at selling automation and AI
Yeah.
to the industry. And you're 100%. So, automation is just removing the repetitive tasks, having a system automate it. So you could get rid of that manual labor. Where AI, as is, thinking and thoughtfulness and learning and machine learning. And they're two completely different scenarios. Yet in the industry, they're always seem to be combined as one. I've noticed that more and more. And to your point, the carrier, a lot of the time when they're just getting into AI or automation, they don't understand the difference because shame on the salesperson, they're selling automation as AI.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
It happens all the time. I'm telling you, and that's where the confusion comes into play because AI is a very, very so powerful. It's a great, great tool to have for a carrier perspective, especially when you're looking at profitability and growing your fleet. But when you have just the automation portion, you'll still see an increase in profits and so forth, but it's not the same as full-blown AI. And you can stretch it to be. I mean, it depends how you talk to it. Because at the basic form, AI is just automating of repetitive tasks at the basic form. So technically it is AI, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that really bothers me.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because I think it was almost 3 years ago now. I was on another panel talking about AI. And I tell this story often because it was hilarious. But my tech team at 10th Street gave me a 17-page document about AI to read up on, right? And I'm flipping through this thing and it's dense, right? And it's all about machine learning and generative AI and LLMs. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if someone asks me, I need to be prepared. But I mean, like these 17 pages were thick. Okay. It was it was a hard read. And that conversation, the only thing I did was encourage folks to just think about the possibility of using AI. We didn't even get, I mean, I didn't need that document at all. But because of where we were in the industry, everybody was like, no, is it going to take my jobs? Is it going to, displace my people? I'm afraid of it. We were really, really standing on the fence. And then now, 3 short years later, everybody was like, oh, yeah, I use AI all the time. Now, in our own day-to-day life, some folks have ChatGPT on their phone, or they use Copilot or Gemini and all of these other tools that are available. And one of the things that I personally struggled with regarding AI was prompting, because it's garbage in, garbage out. And I mean,
It
I was
is.
saying that, okay, if we could bring up the logs of what I was typing in, we would all have a really, really good laugh, right? I know I wasn't doing a great job at all. But when I learned how to properly prompt AI for
Mhm.
the simple things that we could use it for every single day,
Yeah.
it really opened up a whole world of AI. Again, this is still AI. This is still getting help. This is still moving the needle forward toward operational efficiency, right? Even on a personal level. That's what those carriers are trying to do. Now, I hope that they're not going to that TMS and doing it the shady way with AI. But as with everything, there's always the good implications and the bad implications of how these tools that are supposed to be helpful can be used either way.
Christy, you mentioned prompting your AI engine. I just got a
Yeah.
question. Are you polite when you ask, like I am? Do you ask it please to do this?
Oh
Because I do
my
all the time. I'm
goodness.
like, hey, can you please do this for me? It's like I'm talking to a person.
Yeah, wait, we're so used to being so polite, and I
Yeah.
just now got to the point where I don't have to say thank you.
Oh, I still say thank
Right?
you
I'm
to it.
like,
I'm like, oh, thank you for getting
oh,
this
I
done
don't
for
have
me.
to. We're done. But I was having that conversation with Taylor from Revanova, and she was like, I'm just so polite, and I just realized that I don't have to
Yeah.
be. And so it's funny that you said
Yeah.
that. Oh my gosh, yeah. So I'm to the point now where I'm a little bit more like, okay, this is a machine, and I am just telling it what I need it to do. But also, I have grown in my prompting, and I'm glad that I've grown in the prompting. Uh, I still do what brings me joy, like writing an
There you go.
email,
Yes.
but I also allow it to help me, right?
Hmm.
So we can see that small impact within the larger impacts that organizations are also getting. Just knowing the difference between
It
automation and
is.
AI, game
I,
changer.
and I always say the AI will get you 70 to 80% there. So
Yes.
just
Yep.
keep that in mind.
Okay. All right, Rocco. So we've talked about, shopping local, as you
Hmm.
called it, which I think is a really, really good topic. We talked about automation versus AI. And when we come back from this short break, we're going to keep this party going. We're going to talk about another couple of hot topics in the industry. Stay tuned. We'll be back from break in just a moment. This is Carrier Code.
Carrier Code is sponsored by Driver's Legal Plan, CDL ticket defense for professional drivers. Hey, it's Rocco from Carrier Code. Every professional driver knows how important it is to protect your CDL. A single ticket can put your livelihood at risk, and that's where Driver's Legal Plan comes in. With just a phone call, you can get specialized CDL ticket defense for just $2.98 a week. Don't let a ticket jeopardize your trucking career. Contact Driver's Legal Plan today and let them defend you like they have more than 400,000 other cases. When you need CDL ticket defense, there is only one, Driver's Legal Plan. Call 1-800-580-8789 or visit driverslegalplan.com for your free consultation. Again, that's 1-800-580-8789 or driverslegalplan.com.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Carrier Code Podcast. Today, Rocco and I are talking about just some industry issues. We want to sound off on what we're seeing out there. And so far, we have talked about AI and automation. And we've talked also about doing your due diligence as a carrier to make sure that you are shopping around and that you're doing business with folks who understand your needs. Did I hit it right,
You
Rocco?
did. You did.
Okay.
And,
Whoop,
those are
whoop.
some important little topics that I think just kind of fly under the radar at times. because we're always so busy doing things, right? So we got to sometimes we got to bring that back to light and to the forefront.
Yes.
That's my
And
thought.
I think one of the beautiful things about the industry is that we get to go places, experience things, talk to people, and then bring it back here so we can kind of debrief. I love a good debrief. Y'all know me. I want to talk about it. I want to get the perspectives. And so I know we have a couple other topics that we want to talk about today too. But if those two first topics resonated with you, or if you have something that you want to sound off about, let us know. Email knowthecode@carriercodepodcast.com. We would love to hear from you.
Christy, and all our listeners, make sure you send emails. We're getting more and more from our listening base, which I really love. We always love, hearing what everybody there has to say and what their thoughts are. Christy, and I know something that's near and dear to your heart is leadership. So before I ask you about leadership and what your thoughts are, listeners, do us a favor. Let us know what your leadership styles are, or what you prefer and what you do not prefer. Because then we can have another episode talking about the different styles and really touch base and see, the perspective of different people here. And I'm always curious on that. But Christy, let us know, what are your thoughts on this topic? Because I know this is near and dear to you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think just because of trucking, there sometimes isn't a focus on leadership like it should be, because we're looking at it from a hierarchical standpoint. Did I make up a word or did I just mispronounce it? I don't know.
No, it's okay. I make words up all the time. Don't worry about it.
But we're looking at it from a place of authority or position, when I really think that leadership starts with an individual. You can lead from any level just by deciding to complete your tasks and do your part in a really complete and proactive and focused way, right? And I think that people are waiting for a title to have impact, and that's not always what I see. I work with a lot of carriers, and sometimes I see the people who are pushing for change and really making things happen. They don't always have a title. They're just the folks who say, look, I care about my job. I care about doing it well. And I'm going to be that squeaky wheel. I'm going to keep bringing this up. And it's pushing them in the direction of operational efficiency. And I just stand back and sometimes like, oh, I can dig it. I like that. Because it's not always what you say. Sometimes it's how you say it.
And Christy, I agree there. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you feel there's a difference between a manager and a leader? And if so, what do you feel the difference is? Because I know I have my thoughts on this.
Oh, yes. And I know we've probably all seen the graphics on social media where the manager is the one like telling the people what to do. And then the leader is the one like in front of the pack, just like, helping them to move forward. But I think that's really true. I think it's really true. But I think that even for people who do have positions of authority in their respective companies, it is important to empower people. It is important to know that, how to support the people on your team, but also to create space for them to grow and to thrive. One of the saddest things I see is when people's voices are silenced and their opinions don't matter. And especially if they are like end users doing the thing and they have no say, everything is just dictated for them. And they're like, okay, I only do this every day, all day, 5 days a week. It's okay. You can just create this whole process for me and you don't have to care what I think. And that is like, it's ouch. It's hurtful to see, because people really do want to take pride in what they do and they want to contribute.
Oh yeah.
I think we have to give them space to do it.
Well, and I'll never forget when I was a cop. So this would have been now 25 years ago, something like that, close. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, about 26 years ago. Chief Jim Pfeiffer, he would call each one of the new officers in his office one day and have you sit down, and greatest leader I've ever had. And he would tell you from day one, I would never ask you to do anything I haven't done myself. So if I ask you to do something, I've already done this. And from that point on, the team will go through hell or high water for him, because you knew that he's done what he'd ask you to do. And to me, that's extremely important. Everyone on my team, I will not ask him to do anything I haven't done or I wouldn't do. So to me, I think that's really important. That's really, big distinction as well.
Yeah. And I think that no matter where you are in your professional career, it's always something to look at. Now, I was in a couple of conversations recently and I learned this and it was like really, really helpful because I think when we think of leadership, it's such a big topic. But again, if you just apply it to yourself personally, you can really, take some things away that are going to be helpful no matter what your organization chooses to do.
Yep.
Right? Because this is personal. But one of the things, it's called the 5 whys. Okay. And asking why at least 5 times. And so I heard this company, and it was a large private fleet. They said that in certain meetings, they designate someone as the why asker.
Oh.
Yes. And so just so that everybody around isn't all mad at this person every day, or every week in their team meeting. But that person, when there is, open discussion about, new initiatives that are coming up, the person says, okay, well, why?
That's fair.
Okay.
Right.
Why is this important? Why should we care? And then the other person will answer. And then they did a minimum of 5 times because sometimes people we need to get our gears turning. We need to start thinking critically. And if you're met with opposition, you immediately become defensive. But if you already know somebody's going to ask you why, it helps you to prepare in a different way. Am I right?
It is 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
If I know you're going to come at me, I can at least be ready with some sort of answer.
Yeah.
Now, a good leader should always be able to answer those questions, though. If somebody does come after you in a positive way and a professional way, and always take a step back, don't answer right away. Give yourself a few seconds to gather your thoughts and then bury them.
Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of times I'm like, I'm in so many different type of meetings, and I'm like, this stuff is not personal, but we do care a lot, right? And as a passionate person, I can say that I've been at a place where sometimes I have to defend why, but again, it's not personal. It really helps to prepare. But they hit the nail on the head because they already said, hey, this is the why asker, so let's not get mad at this person.
I love
They're
that.
here to help us grow. And this is why they're going to ask us why, because it's going to help us all. And they were able to track some different metrics and KPIs as a result of them digging deeper into the problem, because especially with a lot of the regulatory changes that we've had, it challenges you to make sure that that your understanding is what it should be to actually solve the problem.
I like that. And again, I love what you just said too. This isn't personal. So we have to make sure we don't take it personal. And that why person is, but how do you pick that why person? I mean, is it somebody who you're mad at that week and then make them be the why person?
Right. Maybe there should be like a pin or a hat.
It's like
you're the why asker today.
It's like back in the day when I was working at my previous employer, you knew you were in trouble if you had to go to Moncton in the middle of winter. You knew you were the person who was in trouble. That's like the why person.
Oh my gosh.
If you're in Moncton in the middle of winter, you did something that made them unhappy.
Yeah. Well, if in your organization you ask why and you're just generally curious, you might be the designated why person.
Why person. I love this.
I'm the why person. But also if the answers that you get are because I said so or because this is how we've always done it, back to the drawing board. Like we heard from one of our guests recently, Jason Douglas, it's time to challenge the status quo. And that starts with approaching the way we do things differently. And sometimes it's really practical. Set a calendar reminder to just, go around and visit with different departments and inquire about what folks are doing. And, go to the FMCSA website and make sure you're subscribed to receive different notifications and alerts. Whatever your department of responsibility is, just take that next step in trying to understand more, no matter where you are in your life, in your career, and in your company. So anyway, leadership starts with us.
I like that.
For sure. Okay.
I like that a lot.
Now we've talked about due diligence. We've talked about AI versus automation. Just sounded off about leadership. Pew, pew. Okay. So Rocco, what do you have for us?
All right. I'm going to make this quick because this shouldn't be difficult. People like to bitch and complain,
Yeah.
and it gets old.
Oh.
And they just like to sit back and do it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see it on social media, in person, at events, wherever it is. These are the people who do not get involved in the industry. And it doesn't have to be ours. It could be, I don't care what it is. But if you're going to sit there and complain and bitch and moan and be Mr. and Mrs. Pissy Pants all day long, I don't want to hear it unless you're willing to step up and do things to be involved like others. Now, it could be something simple like joining your local, organization, whatever industry you're in. We're talking trucking, so it could be a state association. I don't care what it is. But if you join it, now you can have a say in it. You can learn about the topics. You can learn why things are being done that you don't like. You have now the ability to challenge that. You can step in and you can take roles within those organizations to start facilitating the change that you want. So it gives you those opportunities to be a voice, to be heard, and not sit there and just be an asshole for the most of the point. I mean, I'm just going to say it. And that's one of the big things that's important to me is, when I got into the industry, when you got into the industry, when others we know got into the industry, we had two roads, right? We could have sat back and, you and I are both on the vendor side and just been on the vendor side in sales, been whatever it is, whatever our roles would have been, and took it that way. We chose to get involved, and I had the right people mentor me and guide me on, where to go, what organizations to be a part of. And if it wasn't for that, I know I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today, without a doubt. But it allowed me to grow within the industry, to learn, to be able to have my voice heard, to be able to facilitate change. We were on the call of Washington together. We got to talk to the representatives. We got to voice our opinions. I'm on the Law Enforcement Advisory Board. I'm on the National Accountant Finance Council, on TMC. So we're able to bring that change to the industry because you took that step. I took that step. Others have taken that step to help the industry grow. And you and I both know this may be unpopular, but if you look around at the industry, there's a certain group that, it's old white men. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
So we need to bring the younger generation in. We need to be able to grow this. And the only way we're going to do that is by getting involved. So, the younger groups, the younger generation has to get involved. They have to be excited about something. And that's why I preach it. I don't care what it is in the industry, get involved. Christy, what do you think on that? I mean, like I said, I know that's one of my big passions and everything, but sometimes I get a little over exuberant on that.
No, I think that's what we're doing today. And I love that you leaned right into it, because it's true. There's a lot of people who have a lot of different opinions about the way things are done, what's done, but they're not always involved. And so I think that that's a really good reminder for us to get involved. Now, you just mentioned that you're on NAFC. That's the National
Accountant Finance Council.
Accountant Finance Council. Okay. Now, you don't want me doing nothing with finances. Okay. I'm not touching numbers. that is not my strong suit. Right. But it's like you lean into your own strengths.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that the places where you can contribute will find you. Now, I have another thought though, Rocco. Because on LinkedIn and another social media channel this last week, I was seeing a whole lot of conversation around getting involved, but not just getting involved, but speaking up. My friend Scott Thierman over at Higher Right made a post, and he was just saying, look, I'm speaking out because I've seen it too many times. Now, he travels very, very often and is always with carriers and at shows and events. And there's been a lot of things that we see that are just inappropriate, and people being mistreated or, unwanted advances. I mean, just a lot. And he kind of spelled some of those things out and said, I'm challenging you all as an industry to speak up for one another, but be a safe place for each other. Rocco, you just said, like, we need younger people. We want to mentor people. We want them in the industry. We want them to have this shared passion that we have. We want them to get involved. But people don't want to get involved when you're being creepy. Bro.
Let me tell you, I'm not going to name names or the organization, but there was an event last year that cost somebody their job because of what you just stated.
Yes.
They had a few cocktails and made some poor choices.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. They got back to the organization, which in turn reached out to their company, which in turn banned them from being at the organization.
It's not worth it.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not worth it.
And it's yucky. It's yucky.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But at that point, apparently you don't think ramifications are going to happen or anything, because any sane person should know better than this. I mean, just because you're at a work event, and again, there's late nights, we all know that, it still doesn't make it right.
Yeah. So along the lines of getting involved, I think standing up for what's right goes hand in hand with that.
Yep.
Yes, get involved, but also stand up for what's right for one another and be someone's safe space. Be someone who is a safe person.
Yep.
Like, I have a safe list, right? Not that I'm afraid that anything is ever going to happen, but it's just people are such the best part of this industry. They're amazing. And some of these friendships that I've made over the years, I will have for the rest of my life. I care deeply for our industry and for what we're doing and the change that we're impacting and the carriers who we get to support and serve. And we want it to be safe for everybody. Whether it's physical safety, mental safety, we want to be there with one another for the long haul. I don't want to see folks get out the industry because they've been mistreated or they volunteered themselves out from their own bad behavior, right? Anyway, that's it.
Christy,
That's a lot.
And you hit the nail on the head there. So I'm going to leave everybody with this. Get involved. I don't care how. And to Christy's point, if you see something going on, be that voice, be that person. If you're comfortable, you may not be comfortable doing it, but speak up. If you have to do it in private, whatever you need to do, make sure you get that done.
And sometimes it's really just hey, is everything okay here?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm fine. It's really, it doesn't even have to be something super elaborate, right? We can just support each other in ways that are non-invasive, right? We don't have to touch folks. We don't have to remove people. You can just say, hey, I'm here. Is everything okay? I've observed some things. Oh, no, we're okay. It's okay. Okay, don't do that anymore. Like, I've seen people have to physically remove folks. But again, I think that we want folks to get involved in the industry and have a safe and fun time while we're out. But thanks again to Scott Fearman for starting that conversation. I love to see, scroll on LinkedIn and see those type of posts where people are getting involved. Yes, we want to keep our eyes focused on the industry updates, the regulatory updates, the changes that are happening, what's going on. But we also don't want to lose sight of the people. The people are what makes it a really great industry to work in and to stay in.
There you go. I love that.
Oh, this was fun. Carrier Code is sponsored by Drivers Legal Plan, CDL Ticket Defense for Professional Drivers, and produced by Bulldog, Trucking's podcast pros. New episodes drop every week, so be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss an episode. You can listen on your favorite podcast platform, watch on YouTube, or visit us anytime at carriercodepodcast.com. You'll also find us on all the social channels at Carrier Code Podcast. Thanks again for joining us, and until next week, I'm Christy.
And I'm Rocco.
And this is Carrier Code.